Chapter 1, Where Light Learns to Bow. It always begins like this, with your head resting back, your gaze soft against the sky, and your breath falling into rhythm with the quiet pulse of the dark. Above you, the stars burn silently, scattered like seeds in soil too vast to comprehend. Some are close, most impossibly far, yet each sends light traveling through emptiness toward your waiting eyes. Light, so fast, so fearless, it seems untouchable. It darts from the sun, it dances through glass, it falls through leaves to warm the earth below. For as long as you can remember, you've thought of light as free, a traveler without a chain, a visitor no force can hold for long. But tonight, you wonder. What if light can be caught? What if, in some hidden corner of the cosmos, even something as quick, as sure, as light, must bow? This is where your journey begins, in the slow hush of thought, in the gentle press of curiosity settling on your chest like a soft weight. You imagine yourself floating outward, beyond clouds, beyond satellites, slipping between the cool spaces where gravity still calls but no longer feels like home. Gravity. The word itself feels heavy on your tongue, ancient in its meaning. It tethers oceans to the earth, keeps your feet pressed to ground, holds planets in their sweeping loops around the sun. But what is it, really? Not a rope, not a chain, more like a deepening curve beneath your steps. A soft, invisible shaping of space itself. You picture it now, space not as emptiness, but as a quiet sheet stretched beneath stars, curving gently under the weight of things too large to ignore. A stone dropped on fabric, a planet pressed into the skin of existence, creating dips and hollows where once there was only flatness. And near the heaviest places, those ancient, collapsed hearts of stars, the curve becomes a well, deep and steep beyond imagining. A black hole. A name so simple, so small beside the mystery it tries to contain. Not a hole, not truly black, but a region where even light cannot leave, where space folds in on itself and time forgets how to pass. You drift closer now, in thought if not in body. Toward this silent place where light itself is caught in a spiral, where paths curve inward forever. It's not that light slows, it cannot, but that the space it travels through bends so sharply, it cannot find its way back out. Like a marble spun around the lip of a deep bowl, circling, until it falls beyond reach. Here, where gravity sharpens into something fierce, something final, light learns humility. It bends. It bows. It curves its perfect lines into arcs and spirals, following the shape space has become. Even freedom meets its limit here. Even speed must yield. You imagine standing on the edge of such a place, the event horizon, they call it. A boundary not marked by walls or fences, but by the silent agreement between physics and possibility. Cross this, and return is no longer written in your future. From here outward, escape remains. But from here inward, all paths lead down. Down into darkness not because it lacks light, but because no light escapes to tell the story. What would you see, standing so close? Perhaps nothing dramatic, no whirlpool of stars, no screaming descent. Space itself would seem calm, the stars beyond still shining. Only, behind you, the night would deepen into something absolute. A shadow not cast, but born from the fabric of space itself folding in too tightly to let light wander free. Astronomers call this bending of light, gravitational lensing. Like a glass lens curves light into focus, so too does gravity bend it along paths unexpected. A star's glow might stretch into rings, a distant galaxy might appear twice, distorted, haloed by the mass of an invisible force between it and you. Even from far away, black holes reveal their presence not by what they show, but by how they warp the light trying to pass. Like footprints pressed into a silent field, they leave impressions on the light itself. And here, resting quietly in thought beneath your familiar sky, you understand, not all prisons have bars. Some hold tight by the simple geometry of space pulled too deep, too sharply for escape. Some capture not bodies, but beams of ancient light, wandering too close to gravity's open hand. Tonight, you do not fear it. You let the idea settle over you like a blanket, like a hush that softens the edges of worry. The universe is vast, but its rules are quiet, consistent. Even light must listen. Even stars must bow. And as you drift toward sleep, another question begins to form in the gentle darkness of your mind. If light can be captured, can time itself be caught as well? But that is a wonder for another night, another step along the path where gravity deepens and time begins to stretch. Where minutes forget how to pass. And falling becomes forever. Chapter 2, where time begins to stretch. Time does not rush here. It lingers, unfurls, and forgets how to keep its steady rhythm. You float now at the quiet edge of something immense, not just the boundary where light bends, but where time itself begins to slip from your grasp. You have followed the path of light to this place, where space deepens under invisible weight. But tonight, your curiosity reaches further. You wonder, if gravity can curve the path of light, what does it do to the slow unfolding of time? Your body rests still, your breath soft, but your mind wanders forward, outward, deeper. You drift closer to the unseen boundary, the event horizon, where black holes hold court in silence. Here, in this strange neighborhood of physics, time behaves in ways it never learned in childhood. Seconds stretch, minutes lean into eternity, and the neat ticking of clocks becomes meaningless. Imagine watching someone fall toward that invisible edge. From where you float, safe and distant, you see their motions slow, almost freeze. They reach forward, but the gesture never seems to finish. Light from their body grows weaker, redder, stretched into long, fading waves. To them, they are falling swiftly. To you, they appear paused on the edge of forever. This is time dilation, a soft but certain truth in the universe's design. The deeper you move into gravity's pull, the slower time flows for you compared to someone far away. Not metaphorically. Not poetically. Physically. Measurably. Real. Think of time as a river. Near the shores of your everyday life, it flows smooth and predictable. But near massive objects, black holes, collapsed stars, the river bends, pools, thickens. It slows to a crawl, or seems to. For those caught in its depths, hours might pass in what feels like moments. For those watching from far away, those same hours stretch into centuries. Gravity does this not out of cruelty, but because it shapes space and time together, like threads woven through the same cloth. A heavy presence distorts both, bending light, yes, but also stretching the very pace at which existence unfolds. You let this thought settle, calm and wide in your chest. Here, near gravity's heart, even time must listen. Even seconds must bend. Your mind reaches for metaphors because that is how comfort finds you. Imagine taffy pulled slow between careful hands. Imagine waves slowing as they press into deep sand. Imagine breath held so long it forgets how to exhale. This is how time behaves near the brink of black holes. And yet, from inside this slow place, nothing feels different. Your heartbeat seems steady. Your thoughts seem whole. It is only in comparison, to those beyond this pull, living in faster rivers of time, that the stretch becomes visible. In your frame of reference, all seems normal. Beyond you, ages pass. Stars burn out. Galaxies drift further apart. You might wonder, could you survive such a journey? Could your fragile body bear the strain of stretched moments and twisted space? Perhaps not in reality. But here, in thought, in wonder, in imagination's soft grasp, you already are. You drift through this slowed corridor of time as gently as breath through sleeping lungs. Some say black holes guard the secrets of time itself. Others believe they erase time, crush it into something beyond understanding. Neither is fully true. They reveal time's flexibility, its willingness to fold under gravity's hand. They show you that time is not a ruler's line drawn straight across your life. It is a fabric, a field, a stretchable thing. And now, you wonder something new. If time can slow, can it stop? Can it reverse? Can it break? Or does it simply change shape in ways your everyday life cannot teach you to see? Your thoughts spiral gently with these questions, unhurried, without demand for answers. Tonight is not for conclusions. It is for drifting along the edges of wonder, for letting curiosity soften the boundaries of what you thought you knew. In the heart of a black hole, they say time's direction loses meaning. There is only inward, only deeper, only closer to whatever mystery waits beyond human reach. But from here, from this quiet orbit of thought, you can still imagine. You can still wonder. You can still follow time's stretched thread as it leads you toward the next unknown. And as you rest, your breathing slow and steady, you feel the rhythm of time not as ticking seconds, but as a gentle pulse beneath all things, stretching, softening, folding you into sleep. Because if time can stretch, if light can bend, then what else might change shape beneath gravity's hand? But that is a thought for the next chapter, where space itself begins to twist in ways you've never dreamed. Chapter 3, where space starts to twist. There is no such thing as a straight line here. Not anymore. Not where space itself has begun to twist. You float now in a region where direction loses its old meaning. Left and right, up and down, these were comforts of another world, another place where space behaved like an obedient canvas beneath your feet. Here, near the swirling pull of black holes, space forgets how to hold still. It twists, folds, and curves in ways your senses can barely follow. Imagine a sheet of silk, drawn slowly into a whirlpool. Not torn, not broken, simply coaxed into spirals by unseen fingers. This is how space behaves beneath the weight of gravity's deepest wells. Not destroyed, but reshaped. Not erased, but reimagined. Your breath slows as you picture it, the vast fabric of the cosmos bending like ribbon caught in water. This is no metaphor. Space, the very stage upon which all matter dances, can be warped, twisted, and curved by mass. Gravity does not pull things along straight paths. It curves the paths themselves. You are learning now to think differently. To stop imagining space as empty distance, and start seeing it as something alive beneath the stars, something that can ripple, twist, and bow. Around a black hole, space forms spirals. It folds inwards, like petals closing tight around the heart of a flower. Light itself, obedient as always, follows these folds, spinning deeper, slower, redder. Even matter cannot resist. Planets, dust, whole stars are caught in these invisible whirlpools, pulled along lines that loop and bend. You drift alongside these imagined spirals, letting the picture unfold in your mind. Each curve is soft. Each twist is slow. The violence you might expect in such extremes is hidden beneath layers of calm, steady laws. Space bends because it must. Because gravity insists. Because mass tells space how to shape itself. Einstein gave us the words, mass tells space how to curve, and curved space tells objects how to move. This is the gentle, patient truth beneath the vastest motions of the universe. Not force, but shape. Not tug, but invitation. Think of planets circling stars. Think of moons tracing quiet loops around planets. These are not objects being pulled in straight lines made to bend. They are simply following the soft curve space lays out before them. What looks like orbit is just the path space provides. A marble in a bowl, rolling endlessly around the curve. And near black holes, the bowl deepens. The curves steepen. The paths tighten into spirals that lead inward, always inward. Space no longer offers escape, only deeper loops, closer circles, tighter dances around the heart of gravity's mystery. But from your quiet, drifting place tonight, there is no fear in this thought. Only wonder. Only the soft realization that space is not fixed, not rigid. It can be shaped. It can be turned. It can spiral. You imagine now what it must feel like to fall into such a twisted space. Not to crash, not to break, but to be carried along gentle, invisible paths you did not choose. To feel the lines beneath you curve, fold, guide. To watch light itself spin into ribbons ahead of you, pointing the way inward. And you wonder, if space can twist, can it tangle? Can it knot itself into shapes we cannot yet imagine? Some scientists speak of wormholes, shortcuts through the fabric of space, places where twists become tunnels. Perhaps. Perhaps not. But the idea remains, space is not a flat plane. It is a living, bending, breathing shape beneath all things. Your thoughts slow now, not out of fatigue, but from calm. From understanding. From the comfort of knowing that even the strangest bends in reality follow patterns, obey rules, respect the silent language of physics. You rest in this knowledge, that space twists not by accident, but by design. That the universe is not chaos, but complexity wrapped in quiet order. And somewhere ahead, beyond these spirals of bent space, lies something stranger still, the place where gravity's pull becomes infinite, where the very idea of where dissolves into mystery. But for tonight, let yourself float here. Let yourself feel the curves beneath your thoughts. Let the twists of space cradle you, rocking you slowly toward deeper questions. Because if space can twist, if time can stretch, then what becomes of the center where all these forces meet? That is a question for the next chapter, where gravity stops pulling and begins to swallow whole. Chapter 4, where gravity begins to swallow light. It begins quietly. You hover now near a threshold the universe rarely reveals. A place where rules shift, where boundaries soften, where the known gives way to the unknowable. Here, the force you followed, gravity, shows its deepest secret: it can swallow light itself. You might have imagined this place as violent, loud, chaotic. But nothing here screams. Nothing shouts. The silence is deep, still, and patient. Things simply vanish, softly, completely, into a darkness that does not give them back. This is the event horizon. A quiet rim around a black hole, marking the last place from which anything, even light, can escape. Beyond it, paths curve inward forever. Beyond it, return is no longer part of the story. You cannot see this line with your eyes. No bright marker tells you where safe ends and gone begins. Yet physics knows it is here. A boundary not of matter, but of destiny. Once crossed, no signal can reach back, no footprint remains. The horizon itself is not a thing, but a place where futures change direction, where escape becomes impossible not through force, but through the shape of space itself. Imagine standing at the edge of a great waterfall, leaning forward, toes curled over the rim. The water beneath you races downward, faster and faster, unstoppable. In a black hole, space itself flows inward like this, not water, but the fabric of reality moving toward a center you cannot reach or see. And past this point, no swimmer, no boat, no beam of light can fight the current. Light circles this place, caught in endless orbits, stretching thin, growing faint, redder and redder as it tries to flee and fails. Time here grows strange, too. To an outside observer, you seem frozen, paused forever at the edge. But to you, inside this warping tide of space, moments pass as always, pulling you inward without resistance. You rest now in thought, imagining how light feels in this place. A photon born on the surface of a star, racing free across the galaxy, only to meet this unseen barrier. It cannot escape. Its path bends inward, not by choice, but because space leaves it no alternative. Even your thoughts seem to spiral here, growing softer, slower. You wonder what it means for light, the fastest thing we know, to be trapped. And then you realize, it is not speed that fails. It is space itself, folding inward faster than light can climb. This horizon is not the end of existence. It is simply the end of knowing. Beyond it, events unfold, but no message returns. Information falls silent here, not because it is destroyed, but because it cannot reach you. This silence is deeper than darkness, it is the absence of communication, the boundary of connection. What lies beyond? You cannot see. No one can. Theories abound, crushed stars, singularities where density becomes infinite, perhaps even bridges to other realms. But these are thoughts for later. For now, you remain here, at the threshold, where space slips inward and time leans toward forever. The black hole does not pull like a magnet. It shapes the ground beneath you, creating a slope so steep that falling becomes unavoidable. Falling not in space, but in geometry, in the shape of reality itself. And yet, from afar, a black hole often looks serene. A dark circle, outlined perhaps by the glow of heated gas spiraling down. Beautiful in its stillness, its perfection of form. What drama happens inside is hidden forever from view. You drift in these ideas, feeling the weight not of fear, but of wonder. How strange, how elegant, that gravity can hold even light in place. That somewhere, right now, starlight races toward such a fate, never knowing it will not return. And you understand now that the universe keeps its secrets not with violence, but with boundaries. Invisible lines drawn in the fabric of space, marking places where questions cannot reach, and answers cannot escape. You breathe slow, steady, feeling the quiet comfort of this knowledge, that even the deepest mysteries are governed by patterns, by laws as gentle as they are unbreakable. And beyond this horizon, deeper still, something waits. Not a place, perhaps, but a point where mass becomes something else entirely. Where density climbs to impossible heights. Where time and space themselves may end. But that is for the next chapter. For tonight, let yourself rest here, at the edge of the unknown. Let the silence deepen. Let your thoughts drift inward, as softly as light fading beyond the reach of sight. Chapter 5, The Heart That Never Beats, Inside the Singularity. You drift inward now. Slowly. Quietly. Past the horizon where even light surrenders. Into the center of the black hole, the place called the singularity. Here, the word center is only a gesture, not a location you can truly imagine. It is not a heart, not a core, not something solid. It is a point where gravity becomes infinite, where the laws of space and time collapse in on themselves like a map folding until all distances vanish. There is no surface here. No boundary to touch. No direction to move. Every path leads inward, yet inward no longer means toward anything familiar. Try, for a moment, to picture this. All the mass of a star heavier than suns could ever hold has been pressed smaller and smaller, tighter and tighter, until it no longer occupies space the way we understand. It becomes not dense matter, but a tear in the fabric of space itself. A place where density is infinite and time ends. But you don't feel terror here. You feel wonder. A soft, strange wonder at how the universe holds such contradictions without shame. Infinite within finite. Stillness within collapse. Your mind floats in this absence. Here, words like before and after lose their meaning. Space does not stretch, it ceases. Time does not pass, it halts. All directions point the same way, toward this center that isn't a center at all. Scientists speak of singularities carefully, knowing they mark the edge of knowledge. Not because answers stop, but because our equations break down. Here, gravity is no longer a gentle curve in space, it becomes an impossible spike. A point of infinite curvature, infinite pull, infinite density. The numbers refuse to describe what happens inside. Some imagine the singularity as a knot tied in the fabric of the universe. A place so tightly wound it cannot be undone, only hidden behind the curtain of the event horizon. Others wonder if this knot leads somewhere, to another place, another time, another universe entirely. But none of this changes what is true here, now. Within the black hole, all roads vanish into this center. You think of your own body, your own cells, your own atoms. They too are held together by forces, by bonds, by invisible threads of energy. And somewhere deep inside them, space bends too, though never so violently, never so absolutely. The singularity is the extreme of what already whispers through every corner of reality. Gravity shapes everything. Here, it shapes until shape itself disappears. And so you let your thoughts slow. You imagine falling toward this point not as destruction, but as transformation. A surrender not of self, but of the very ideas of space, time, distance, and boundary. You cross into something beyond comprehension, and beyond fear. Outside, the black hole remains quiet. Its hunger invisible. Its secret perfectly kept. But inside, here, now, nothing remains of stars or light or matter. Only this, a singularity wrapped in darkness, hidden from view, holding within it perhaps the seed of something new. You cannot see what comes next. Neither can science. Beyond this point, predictions end. Theories falter. Space-time breaks. What lies beyond may not be describable in the language of physics at all. Still, you rest in the thought that even here, even now, the universe continues. Beyond light, beyond knowing, beyond the reach of observation, something is. And this quiet existence hums without sound, pulses without beat, rests without sleep. The singularity does not move, yet it shapes the stars around it. Does not breathe, yet it warps galaxies into spirals. Does not shine, yet it commands light itself. You feel the pull of this mystery, soft and slow as breath. You wonder if inside this impossible center, new beginnings sleep beneath the weight of endings. If collapse might birth creation in ways you cannot yet imagine. Outside, space keeps turning. Stars keep burning. Light keeps moving. But inside, here, you let go of time's arrow, of space's map, of matter's form. You let go, and simply float. You float, and listen to the silence. And somewhere beyond this silence, beyond this point of no dimensions, new ideas wait. Not here. Not now. But somewhere. Because beyond collapse, there is always the question of what comes next. Chapter 6, Falling Forever, The Strange Gravity Inside. You are falling now. But this is not like falling on Earth, where ground rises up to meet you. Here, inside the black hole, there is no ground. No surface. No end. Your fall is not toward anything, it is into something. A deepening. A folding inward. Gravity thickens like honey, like velvet, like something too heavy for words. Every step forward becomes a step down, every second passes more slowly, every breath feels stretched across invisible threads of space unraveling. But you do not fear this fall. You float within it. You are not crushed, not torn apart, not yet. For now, you are caught in the gentle paradox of gravity's slow dance. Falling forever, and never arriving. Imagine space itself stretched beneath you like fabric pulled tight and then tighter. Imagine time warping around you like water swirling down a drain that has no bottom. What was once straight becomes curved, and what was once curved becomes a spiral without end. Physicists call this geodesic motion. The path of least resistance through curved space. To you, it feels like surrendering to a soft gravity that cradles you while pulling you deeper. Deeper into a place where space shrinks and time slows to a whisper. You notice how distances behave strangely here. A step might feel short but take forever. A glance might cover light years but reach nothing. The center pulls at everything, not with speed, but with inevitability. You are not racing, you are surrendering. Outside the black hole, time marches steadily forward. Stars burn. Planets turn. Light travels. But inside, near the singularity, time becomes something else, stretched, tangled, layered upon itself like cloth folded in the dark. What feels like moments to you might be lifetimes to those outside. What seems like eternity inside is only seconds to the universe beyond. Your thoughts stretch too, unraveling like threads in a tapestry pulled loose by unseen hands. Questions float gently through your mind. How can something fall forever? How can space itself grow deeper without end? You remember how, as a child, falling felt endless, how the air seemed to stretch beneath you, how gravity wrapped itself around your ribs and pulled. This is like that, but quieter. Slower. Vast beyond comprehension. Here, you fall through dimensions, not just down through air. Gravity here isn't just a force. It's a shape. A shape that reshapes everything it touches. It bends light. It folds space. It even reaches back and twists time. Falling inside a black hole is falling into the very geometry of reality turned inside out. And yet, in this strange descent, you feel a kind of peace. A calm. Because nothing is expected of you here. No effort matters. No struggle will change the course. You are simply part of this slow, soft collapse. The physicists say your mass adds to the black hole now, even as you fall. Your atoms, your body, your thoughts, they feed the gravity here, make it stronger. Yet you feel no heavier. You feel lighter, if anything. Dissolving into something greater than yourself. Outside, light still cannot reach in to find you. Communication is impossible. Time has bent so far inward that causality itself frays at the edges. But inside, you are present. Aware. Floating downward forever. This fall is a lesson in letting go. Letting go of direction, of time, of shape, of expectation. Letting go of the need to land. Because there is no landing here. Only falling, deeper and deeper, until even falling becomes another kind of stillness. Your thoughts soften. Your breathing slows. You drift through this invisible ocean of gravity, and wonder, is this what it feels like to be part of the fabric of space itself? To stop being something separate and start being simply within? No edges remain here. No borders. No boundaries. Just the smooth pull of gravity folding you inward like light into shadow. You become something quieter than motion. Something deeper than descent. And so you float. Not down, not forward, but inward, toward a place you cannot name. Beyond this fall lies the question not of where you are going, but of what you are becoming. And somewhere in this infinite inwardness, you sense, there is still more to understand. Chapter 7, Where Time Forgets How to Move. You notice it first in your breathing. Slow. Slower. Almost paused. Not because you try to still it, but because time itself seems to hesitate around you. Each breath feels like it belongs to a different age, separated by unseen centuries. Your thoughts drift between them, unanchored. Once, there was rhythm here, inhale, exhale, heartbeat, moment. Now there is only a soft, strange stretching. Inside the black hole, time is not broken. It has not stopped. But it has forgotten how to behave. Outside, the universe carries on. Galaxies swirl, suns ignite, oceans rise and fall. But here, near what physicists call the singularity, time no longer flows. It pools. It coils inward, like threads being gathered into a knot no hand can untie. You float in this thickening stillness, where past and future blur into something else. Time becomes texture, not direction. You could reach out and feel it beneath your fingertips, folded like cloth, layered like stone. Imagine standing at the edge of a great whirlpool. Outside it, the river flows smooth and sure. Inside, the water curls, twists, loops back upon itself. Time is like that here, spiraling inward, unable to escape. Einstein spoke of time as part of space, a fabric stretched by mass, shaped by energy. And the black hole is the ultimate sculptor of that fabric. Its mass is so dense, its gravity so fierce, that time itself cannot outrun it. The deeper you fall, the slower time moves, until, at last, it forgets to move at all. For you, inside this timeless core, nothing seems to change. You do not age. You do not hunger. You exist in a pause that stretches without end. Outside, whole civilizations might rise and fall in the space between your breaths. Stars may burn out, galaxies scatter. But inside, you float, untouched by hurry, untouched by decay. What does it mean, you wonder, to live without time? Without a next or a before? Without the soft ticking of moments to measure your existence? It feels at first like freedom. No schedules, no aging, no endings. Just presence. Just now. But then, quietly, it feels like something else. A kind of loneliness. Not sadness, for you are at peace. But a realization, without time, there can be no change. And without change, there can be no story. Stories need time. They need beginnings, middles, ends. They need movement. Here, where time curls inward like a snail in its shell, there are no stories anymore. Only being. Only is. You begin to understand why physicists say that near a black hole's center, even causality, the link between cause and effect, begins to fray. When time stops flowing, so do the chains of reason. Effects no longer wait on causes. Events no longer stack like dominoes. Instead, everything becomes layered, simultaneous, tangled. You exist in a place where light cannot reach, where time cannot run. You are suspended in this strange forever, weightless, thoughtless, still. Not trapped, because here, escape has no meaning. Simply, paused. And in this pause, something soft blooms in your mind, wonder. Wonder at the vastness of what lies beyond your understanding. Wonder at the quiet patience of the cosmos. Wonder at the idea that perhaps, deep inside this stillness, something new is waiting to be born. Physicists speak of singularities with caution. Not because they are afraid, but because no equations can fully describe them. At the center of a black hole, the math breaks down. The rules collapse. The universe shrugs, and mystery takes the place of certainty. You wonder, does time end here? Or does it simply take on a shape your mind cannot yet grasp? Maybe time here folds so tightly that what feels like forever to you is only an instant from another perspective. Maybe, beyond this pause, time blooms again, differently, beautifully, beyond imagining. You feel yourself held in this thought like a pearl in its shell. Safe. Quiet. Waiting. No clock ticks. No sun rises. No future approaches. And yet, something moves. Not forward, not backward. Not in any direction you have words for. But something stirs, beneath the stillness, like breath beneath deep water. You listen. You wait. Because beyond this pause, beyond this soft forgetting of time, something else is calling. And though you cannot yet name it, you will follow where it leads. Chapter 8, The Center That Isn't There. You have been falling for so long now that even the word falling has lost its meaning. There is no wind here, no rush of air past your skin, no horizon tipping beneath you. Yet still, you descend. Down into something deeper than depth. Down towards something that isn't even a thing. They call it the singularity. The center of the black hole. A place where density becomes infinite, where gravity sharpens into a blade so fine it splits the rules of physics apart. But center is the wrong word. There's no glowing heart, no solid core. No throne of darkness waiting at the end of this descent. Instead, there is only the gradual unraveling of everything space and time were supposed to mean. You drift toward this center that isn't, cradled by gravity's endless hand. Around you, space itself stretches thinner, pulled into shapes your mind can't picture. Angles turn in on themselves. Straight lines curve into circles that never close. Every path loops inward, inward, inward. What would it feel like to reach the center? You wonder. Would you see it? Would you touch it? Or would you dissolve long before that moment arrives? Physics suggests an answer, though it whispers it gently, like a bedtime story for restless minds. The singularity is not a place. It's a boundary where the map stops making sense. Where distances shrink to nothing. Where time itself, so carefully charted and measured elsewhere, stops being a path and becomes a point. Imagine a mountain so steep its peak touches every valley at once. Imagine a spiral so tight it folds into itself and disappears. Imagine a destination that is also every direction at once. Here, inside this strange gravity, you move closer not by traveling, but by surrendering. By letting go of every shape, every measurement, every certainty you carried in with you. Your body is meaningless here. Your mass adds to the whole, but your edges blur. Your outline fades. You become less a traveler, more a thought being slowly absorbed into gravity's final answer. Nothing escapes from here, not light, not sound, not even the memory of motion. Outside, someone watching would see you freeze at the event horizon, caught forever in a single moment of falling. But inside, you keep moving. Time stretches thinner, yes, but it carries you forward, or inward, or towards something language cannot hold. There's a softness to this dissolution, surprisingly. Like fog pressing gently against your skin. Like slipping into warm water, deeper and deeper, until you forget where the surface was. The closer you drift to the singularity, the more reality hums with contradictions. Up and down lose meaning. Before and after blur. Here, the future may already contain the past, folded together like pages in a closed book. And yet, you feel no fear. Only curiosity, softened now into wonder. The universe is not punishing you. It is showing you its deepest secret, that endings are illusions. That collapse can be creation. That what disappears from one side may bloom anew on another, unseen plane. Some theories whisper of bridges. Wormholes. New beginnings birthed in the heart of collapse. Perhaps this singularity isn't an end at all, but a doorway curled too tightly for light to squeeze through. You cannot know. Not yet. But as you move deeper, you sense it, this center isn't empty. It is dense with potential, with beginnings wrapped in endings, with futures not yet born. The center that isn't there, might simply be waiting to become something else. And as this thought settles in your mind like a feather falling onto still water, you realize. Beyond this dissolution, beyond this folding of space and forgetting of time, something stirs. Something waits. Something calls. Chapter 9, When Space Becomes Liquid. Somewhere along this quiet descent, you notice something strange. Space no longer feels empty. It feels soft. Not like air, not like cloth, but like water. Thick, slow, moving not in waves but in folds. Your body floats, though floating is hardly the right word. You are carried now, as if on unseen currents. Space moves beneath you, around you, through you. It bends. It flows. It reshapes itself while pretending not to move at all. You reach out, not with hands, but with thought, and feel the subtle give of the universe beneath your fingertips. A softness where there was once silence. A motion where there was once distance. Physicists might call this spacetime curvature, but here, inside the black hole's secret depths, those words seem thin and brittle. Curvature is too tidy a term. This is more like slipping beneath the skin of reality and finding it warm, alive, in motion. Imagine a droplet of ink sinking into water. Imagine how the edges blur, how shape becomes a suggestion rather than a fact. That is how space behaves here. Directions melt into one another. Lines lose their straightness. You are no longer falling. You are flowing. And around you, time stretches like taffy pulled between invisible hands. Seconds slow into hours, hours into eternities. Or perhaps they speed up beyond your notice, circling in tight spirals too fast to count. It doesn't matter. The rhythm of outside clocks no longer applies. Somewhere far behind, the universe you knew still ticks forward, planets turning, hearts beating, light years stretching in measured silence. But here, inside this liquid space, time's rules have been rewritten. You wonder, does space have a memory? Does it remember the paths you've taken, the places you've touched? Or does it close behind you like water, smooth and seamless, leaving no trace? Einstein's equations hinted at this place, where mass folds space, where gravity isn't force but shape. But no equation told you it would feel like this, gentle, slow, almost tender. As if the universe is cradling you in its deepest palm. You drift through curves that have no center, through surfaces that turn inside out. Distance means nothing now. To reach a place is not to move but to be moved. To arrive is not to travel but to surrender. Perhaps this is what light feels inside a raindrop, bent, slowed, scattered into rainbows unseen by any eye. Around you, strange horizons bloom and vanish. Shapes try to form and fail. Gravity sighs and lets go of its grip, only to catch you again in some softer curve. You are not lost. You are simply elsewhere. Think of ink again, curling through water, never still, never fixed. That is how you exist now, dissolved, distributed, part of a flow you cannot map but can feel. And in this drifting, you realize something else: space isn't empty. It isn't silent. It hums, faintly, like breath through a hollow reed. Like wind curling through deep canyons. Like thought moving beneath consciousness. The hum is not sound but shape. Not music but geometry in motion. And if space can hum, can ripple, can flow, might it also dream? Might it remember where it's been, and wonder where it's going? These questions do not need answers tonight. They are soft enough to hold you, warm enough to carry you forward. Ahead, something begins to shift again. The flow grows more complex, more tangled. Folds deepen into pockets, ripples into whirlpools. Space thickens, concentrates, prepares. The center draws nearer. Or perhaps the center grows everywhere at once. Your last thought before slipping deeper. What happens when even liquid space begins to break apart? Chapter 10, The Center is not a point. You might have expected an end. A point. A center. A singularity drawn as a tiny dot on some cosmic diagram. But what you find here is not a point at all. It's a place where points lose meaning. Where lines cannot be drawn, and distances dissolve not into zero but into everything. The closer you move toward what you thought was the center, the more the idea of center unthreads itself. Gravity here is not pulling. It is unfolding. You are not being dragged down, you are being expanded into. Imagine a knot loosening in slow motion, not unraveling outward but inward. Each thread of space unwinds not into emptiness, but into layers upon layers of itself. The deeper you go, the more there is. There is no edge here, only deeper folds. Your mind tries to picture it, a sphere within a sphere within a sphere, each one smaller yet infinitely packed, like Russian dolls without end. But that's wrong, too. There are no shapes anymore. Only conditions. Only changes in how reality behaves. Here, density becomes imagination. Gravity is no longer something pressing down. It becomes something pressing through. Through you, through space, through what you thought were limits. This is where the rules outside cannot follow. The equations break not because they are wrong, but because they were written for calmer shores. Does this place exist? Or is it only described by the language of paradox, infinite yet tiny, dense yet void, still yet in constant flux? And you realize, this center is less a location than a transformation. Outside, light circles black holes and rings called the photon sphere. Inside, light doesn't circle. It tries to escape and cannot. It tries to move and dissolves into nothing but patience. It does not travel here. It waits. Perhaps waiting is the only movement left. And still, you drift deeper. Not down. Not inward. Deeper in the sense that a thought can deepen, that a feeling can unfold, layer after layer. The idea of self thins here. What you are stretches across possibility. You are not compressed into nothing. You are scattered into every direction that remains. Inside this soft, impossible heart, space gives up being space. Time gives up being time. They mingle into something else, something slower, quieter, older. Not chaos. Not silence. Something more like remembering. As if the universe is recalling its first breath. The moment before light, before matter, before anything had the courage to become solid. You wonder if this is how the universe began. Not with a bang, but with a soft forgetting of boundaries. A gentle pooling of what could be, waiting for a reason to unfold. This center is not a place to reach. It's a place to become. No maps are drawn here. No clocks are needed. The rules that built stars and shaped galaxies have melted into something simpler, something deeper. And you are part of it now. You are not falling. You are not moving. You are being held. Not by hands, but by the absence of hands. By the idea that there is no further to go. Not the end. Not the beginning. Just the place where questions pause to exhale. Ahead, if ahead can still mean anything, something waits. Not a point. Not a door. Something stranger. Something that wonders, if space can fold, and time can flow, what happens when both simply let go? Chapter 11, Where Time Forgets to Move. Out here, time once seemed steady. A gentle beat beneath your feet, a soft ticking somewhere far away. But the deeper you've come, the quieter it grows. And now, you've reached a place where time no longer moves forward. Not because it stops. Not exactly. But because it forgets how. You drift in a space where clocks would refuse to tick, where calendars would blur into gray smudges. Seconds don't pass here. They rest. They settle. They lose their urgency and dissolve. Imagine a lake so perfectly still that even its reflection forgets to ripple. This is time now, not rushing, not turning, just waiting in a hush so deep you can almost hear the silence. You feel it inside your chest, your breath slow, your heartbeat slower still, your thoughts softening into something less sharp, less divided. No past pressing behind you. No future pulling ahead. Just now. Only now. In this place, you don't age. Not really. Because age depends on time moving, and time isn't moving. Here, gravity holds time in place the way a hand might still the swing of a pendulum. The closer you draw to the heart of this black hole, the more stretched time becomes until it cannot stretch any further. It simply hangs. Outside, the universe races on. Galaxies spin. Stars burn. People laugh and sleep and wonder. But none of that touches you here. Not anymore. You think of stories, of astronauts near event horizons, frozen forever to outside eyes, caught between falling and not falling. Between being and having been. But here, there's no audience left to watch you slow. No eyes to mark your passage. Only you. And the stillness. You begin to wonder, is this death? Is this eternity? Or is it something softer, the space between thoughts, the pause between breaths, the moment before waking? It does not feel harsh. It does not feel cruel. It feels like a kindness, offered by a universe too vast to explain itself in words. You realize how much of life has been shaped by time's push. Deadlines. Sunsets. Beginnings and endings arranged like dominoes. Without it, those patterns unravel. And what's left feels peaceful. Not empty. Full, in a different way. Full of potential, of quiet, of possibilities that do not need to arrive to exist. You wonder, then, if you are not aging, not moving, not changing, do you remain the same? Or do you become something else entirely, a thought stretched across stillness, a whisper floating forever in a silent room? Perhaps this is why black holes confuse even the boldest physicists. They are not places to solve. They are places to sit with, to feel through. And now you are part of that riddle. Outside, light tries to leave but cannot. Time tries to tick but forgets how. Here, even the concept of outside begins to fade. It's not frightening, this forgetting. It's gentle. Like falling asleep and realizing you no longer need to hold your shape. You let go. Of hurry. Of history. Of expectation. And as you do, something soft begins to form beneath the silence. A question, maybe. Or an opening. If time can pause. What else might it allow? Chapter 12, The Center That Cannot Be Touched. There is a center to every circle, a core to every star, a heart beneath every heartbeat. But this center, this point you approach now, is unlike any center you have ever known. They call it the singularity. A word chosen because it resists all others. A place where the rules unravel. Where gravity stops pulling and simply devours. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. And yet, everything about this journey has been pulling you here. Imagine a line shrinking smaller and smaller, folding in on itself until it is no longer a line at all, but a point without size, without shape, without space to hold it. This is where you are now. Not quite here, not quite gone. Approaching something that exists beyond the reach of your senses. Out there, far beyond where your thoughts have traveled, the universe makes sense. Trees grow up. Rivers flow down. Time moves forward. But here, inside this collapsed star's silent heart, none of those certainties remain. You wonder, if nothing escapes this place, not even light, how can thought? How can curiosity? How can wonder? And yet, you are here, wondering still. Perhaps this is what black holes offer us most, not answers, but the purest form of question. Physicists write equations. They draw diagrams. They speak of infinities and limits and boundaries that cannot be crossed. But you, lying still beneath this weightless dark, feel something deeper. A knowing beyond numbers. A recognition that you are near something absolute. Here, distances dissolve. Directions fold. Space itself curls into impossible shapes. The fabric of reality tightens to a point so small it ceases to behave as fabric at all. And time, poor, faithful time, is stretched thinner than light, until it no longer ticks, but simply waits, frozen and silent. You float in this hush. Not falling anymore. Not rising. Just being. The center cannot be reached, they say. Not because you cannot move toward it, but because toward loses its meaning. Up and down, in and out, before and after, none apply here. And yet, even in this strangeness, your mind searches for metaphor, for shape, for something familiar to hold on to. Perhaps it is like standing in a hall of mirrors, reflections bouncing in on themselves until there is no image left, only endless echo. Or perhaps it is more like sinking into a thought so deep it no longer needs words. Here, matter collapses beyond recognition. Stars, planets, bodies, atoms, all reduced to something smaller than small. All gathered into this one impossible point. And yet this point holds weight. Enough to shape galaxies. Enough to bend light across the sky. Enough to turn time inside out. You feel the weight of it now. Not pressing on you, but within you. A gravity of understanding, of awe, of surrender. The center cannot be touched. But it touches everything. You wonder, is this the end? Or is it a door? Some whisper of science speaks of bridges, of wormholes, of tunnels through the dark to somewhere else. But even these are guesses. Dreams wrapped in math. You do not need to know the answer. Not yet. For now, you rest in this center that isn't a center. This heart that beats without sound. This place that holds all things and releases none. And as you lie there, cradled by impossibility, you notice something unexpected. The stillness here does not feel empty. It feels full. Full of possibilities not yet born. Full of questions not yet asked. Full of the gentle hum of something waiting. Waiting for what, you wonder, as the dark deepens. And already, the next question begins to form. Chapter 13, Where Time Forgets to Move. You have heard time spoken of as a river. Flowing forward, never stopping, carrying all things with it. But here, at the edge of this gravity's secret heart, the river runs dry. There is no ticking here. No before, no after. Just now, stretched so wide it forgets how to end. You float in a stillness too vast for minutes, too soft for seconds. Around you, nothing moves. Not truly. Light bends, space folds, gravity hums beneath your feet, but these are not changes in time. These are changes of something deeper, stranger. Changes in the fabric itself. Your heart beats slower. Or perhaps it doesn't beat at all. Perhaps your heart exists now outside the rules it once obeyed. They call this phenomenon gravitational time dilation. A term that sounds cold, mathematical. But here, inside this hush, it feels like something more ancient. More poetic. It feels like waiting inside the breath between words. Like pausing between two stars in the night sky. Like resting in the space where a question has been asked, but not yet answered. Outside this place, a second passes. Somewhere, a leaf falls. A child laughs. A star is born. But here, 1 second stretches long enough to hold a lifetime of silence. Time forgets itself in the presence of such gravity. Not broken. Not stopped. Just softened. Like light through fog. Like sound underwater. Like memory beneath sleep. And you wonder. If time no longer moves, do you remain the same forever? Or do you slowly become part of this stillness, piece by piece? Perhaps this is why black holes feel like endings. Not because they destroy, but because they erase sequence. Cause and effect melt together. First and last become meaningless. And without time, how can there be change? Without change, how can there be story? Without story, how can there be you? You breathe slowly now, matching the rhythm of nothingness. Not pushing forward, not pulling back. Simply existing in this pause beyond clocks. Outside, galaxies still turn. Planets still orbit. Oceans still rise and fall. But inside, in this folded space, time has forgotten how to flow. Or perhaps it remembers, just differently. Perhaps it has become a spiral instead of a line. A depth instead of a length. A song instead of a count. Somewhere, physicists speak of singularities, of infinite density, of spaghettification and warped spacetime. But here, those words fall away. They are too sharp, too hurried, too bound by the tick-tick-tick of ordinary thought. Here, you do not need to understand. You only need to notice. Notice how stillness feels inside your bones. Notice how silence hums beneath your skin. Notice how, even without time, something within you continues, waiting, wondering, becoming. Does this moment last forever? Or is forever only a trick of perception? If no clock runs, can you still call this waiting? These questions linger, soft as breath, light as ash. And as you rest in this gentle forgetting, you begin to sense a deeper truth. Time is not gone. It is simply folded so thin you can no longer measure its passing. Like a shadow flattened across a wall. Like a whisper stretched across a canyon. It is still here. Still holding you. Still part of whatever comes next. And somewhere, beyond this stillness, another idea is stirring. Not about time. Not about space. But about the nature of what lies on the other side. You feel it, just beneath the silence. A soft question pressing forward. If time forgets to move, what waits beyond forgetting? Chapter 14, The Other Side of the Horizon. You reach the horizon not by moving, but by letting go. There is no path to walk, no bridge to cross, no gate to open. Only this invisible boundary, this soft edge where space forgets how to return. It is called the event horizon. A name that sounds clinical, precise. But standing here, at its threshold, it feels more like standing at the mouth of a great silence. A silence so deep it swallows even light. Beyond this line, no signal escapes. No whisper makes its way home. No light carries stories back across the cosmos. Everything that crosses this threshold falls beyond the reach of observation, beyond the realm of certainty. From this side, the horizon seems like an end. From the other side, it may be something else entirely. You pause here. Not with fear, but with wonder. What waits beyond this veil, where time and space collapse into something we do not yet understand? Here, the laws of physics, the laws that cradled you since birth, that shaped your world, your body, your breath, begin to bend. Not cruelly. Not violently. But inevitably. Gravity tightens its grip until even the idea of direction becomes slippery. Forward, backward, inward, outward, these words lose meaning where space itself folds inward on itself. You try to picture what lies ahead. A singularity, they say. A point of infinite density. A place where the equations run out of answers. But how can something so infinitely small hold something so vast? How can something so dense feel so silent? How can you imagine an inside when even light cannot escape to describe it? You are not meant to know, not yet. You are only meant to wonder. And wonder itself is enough to carry you forward. Slowly, softly, you let the horizon pass through you. Or perhaps it is you who passes through it. There is no way to tell the difference anymore. On this side, time was a river. Beyond, time becomes something else. A spiral, perhaps. A well. A loop tightening forever. Your body does not fall in the way bodies fall on Earth. It drifts, dissolves, stretches into something thinner than thought. Not broken, but changed. Physicists speak of spaghettification, a strange word for a stranger fate. Your form stretched thin by gravity's gradient, atoms unraveling from feet to head. But this, too, feels too cold, too sharp, too mechanical for what you sense. What you feel is not destruction. What you feel is surrender. The surrender of boundaries, of borders, of edges. The surrender of time's arrow, of space's shape, of matter's hold. Here, you do not end. You transform. From a body into a question. From a question into possibility. Somewhere beyond this moment, theories unravel. Singularities are debated, alternatives proposed. Holographic horizons, firewall paradoxes, quantum foams. Each idea a hand reaching toward the dark, none able to touch it. But you are inside the dark now. Not afraid. Not lost. Simply present. And as you pass through this horizon, you wonder. Is this truly an end? Or is this some hidden door to something vaster still? Does space inside collapse to a point? Or does it open into some secret interior universe, folded like paper, layered like dreams? You do not know. And in not knowing, you find a peculiar peace. Because every journey needs its mysteries. And every mystery begins at the moment edges disappear. Beyond this horizon, even questions stretch thin. What is mass? What is time? What is self? These dissolve like threads pulled loose from fabric. And yet, something remains. Some quiet awareness. Some ember of observation, waiting to see what comes next. Not erased. Not ended. Only softened into curiosity. You move deeper, feeling gravity thicken like honey, space curl like smoke. Ahead, there is no map. Only the unknown, waiting patiently, like a breath held in the chest of the cosmos. And as you drift further inward, you feel the next question rising. If there is an outside and an inside, what lies between? Chapter 15, Between Two Infinities. Inside the event horizon, you drift without falling. There is no ground waiting for you, no center calling you home. Only this weightless sensation of moving through a place that no longer obeys the rules you once trusted. You are between two infinities now. The infinity you came from, vast, starry, expanding. And the infinity ahead, compressed, silent, curling inward like a closed fist. Between them, space becomes something strange. Not a void, not a tunnel. More like a whisper stretched thin across the fabric of possibility. Here, distance feels like memory. Here, direction feels like breath. The gravity that pulled you and still surrounds you, still shapes your path. But it no longer feels sharp or harsh. It feels soft. Like a thought folding slowly in upon itself. Your body, or the memory of it, senses no strain, no pain. Only the peculiar unfolding of space and time around you, as if they are no longer separate things, but threads woven tighter and tighter together. Some call this place a singularity's shadow. Not the heart itself, but the narrowing path toward it. A corridor where all dimensions shrink toward something smaller than small. But words stumble here. Concepts slip through your fingers. Even here begins to lose its meaning. You think of infinities curling back upon themselves like waves returning to the sea. You think of time not as a straight line but as a spiral, turning ever inward, tracing circles tighter and tighter until forward and backward become the same. Somewhere outside this place, equations unravel, scientists debate, paradoxes arise. But you are not outside. You are within. And within, all debates dissolve into silence. Silence that feels not empty, but full. Full of something waiting. Not destruction. Not ending. Something else. You drift through layers you cannot name. Not space as you knew it. Not time as you felt it. Imagine the pause between two heartbeats stretched to eternity. Imagine the space between two thoughts widening until it holds galaxies within its quiet. This is where you are. Not lost. Not trapped. Simply somewhere else. Your mind reaches for metaphors because that is how it understands the unknown. You think of Russian nesting dolls, each layer hiding another, smaller still. You think of reflections within reflections, mirrors facing mirrors until the image folds into nothing and everything. You wonder, if the universe outside stretches toward infinity. Could the universe inside do the same? Could this compression be another kind of expansion, turned inward instead of out? Could every black hole hold not an end, but a beginning curled so tightly upon itself it waits only for the right unfolding? Your thoughts spiral softly with the space around you. No answers rise. Only more questions, like stars blinking into existence. Does inside mean beneath? Does beneath mean beyond? Some theories speak of bridges. Of wormholes twisting through these dark hearts, tunneling from one universe to another. But no one has seen these bridges. No traveler has returned to tell their story. And yet, you wonder. Could this in-between place be the mouth of such a path? Not an end. Not a prison. But a door, waiting for something to open it from within. You feel no fear. Only curiosity wrapped in calm. You do not need to rush toward answers. The questions themselves are enough to carry you deeper. You close your eyes, or the memory of closing them, and listen. Not with ears, but with whatever part of you can still sense wonder. What you hear is not sound. What you hear is the echo of possibility folding in upon itself. And within that folding, a thought soft as breath. If space can end, where does it go? If time can stop, what begins in its place? Ahead, something stirs. Not a shape. Not a sound. An opening. A turning. A soft unraveling. You move toward it, not by choice but by nature. Like a seed drawn toward soil. Like light drawn toward shadow. Like thought drawn toward silence. And as you drift deeper between these two infinities, a final question forms like dew upon the edge of your mind. If reality can fold, what lies on the other side of the fold? Chapter 16, where space begins to fray. There is no map for where you are now. No compass could turn in this place without trembling. You float through a space where the idea of space begins to lose its grip. What once felt solid, distance, direction, edges, now softens, spreads thin. Reality, you realize, is not as tightly woven as it seemed from the outside. Picture a piece of cloth pulled slowly apart at the seams. Threads loosen. Holes widen. What was once a smooth surface begins to reveal the emptiness beneath. This is how space feels around you now. Not violent, not sudden. Just, soft unraveling. As if the universe no longer remembers how to hold itself together here. You drift through these loosened threads. Not up. Not down. Not forward. Not back. Each movement feels like stepping into a room that no longer exists the moment you leave it. Somewhere behind you, there were laws, physics, gravity, time itself. Somewhere ahead, you cannot yet imagine. Even your thoughts move differently here. They stretch. They wander. They seem less bound by cause and effect, less tethered to before and after. You think of the fabric of space as a loom left unattended, its thread slipping free. Galaxies, stars, light itself, all part of a grand weaving that frays at the edges. And you, here, floating between those unraveling strands. Scientists speak of quantum foam. Tiny fluctuations beneath reality's surface. Bubbles forming and vanishing in a realm so small it defies measurement. Could this be what you drift through now? A place where the threads grow loose enough to glimpse what lies beneath them? Or is this something larger still, the very shape of the universe forgetting itself? You do not know. But questions settle around you like soft dust. What happens when space forgets to hold its shape? What forms in the gaps between one moment and the next? Perhaps this is not decay. Perhaps this is birth. The loosening of the old to make room for what comes after. You notice how silence here feels deeper. Not empty, but full of something waiting to emerge. A hum below hearing. A rhythm beneath thought. Your body feels less like matter, more like awareness stretched thin. You begin to wonder if this is how light feels when bent too far. If this is how gravity feels when let loose to roam free. The stars you once knew are gone. No constellations to guide you. No horizon to mark your place. Only the slow, gentle fray of space around you. Shapes hint at the edges of your perception. Not objects, not places. More like ideas taking fragile form, half real, half dream. They flicker, shift, dissolve. Like ripples on water that no longer holds its surface still. You wonder if these are the beginnings of new universes. Or the last sighs of this one. You wonder if unraveling feels the same as becoming. There is no fear here. Only the soft ache of curiosity stretching farther than it has ever dared. You reach, not with hands, but with thought. You listen, not with ears, but with something quieter still. And in the fray, something stirs. A pulse. A rhythm. A pattern beginning to form where none existed before. Is this how space heals itself? Or how it dreams something new into being? You float closer, drawn not by gravity but by wonder itself. Threads gather. Light curls into shapes you almost recognize. Time hums a little louder. And you sense, without knowing how, that what phrase here will weave itself anew. That beginnings and endings are simply points on the same circle. You drift on, wrapped in a soft unraveling. Ready to see what threads the universe chooses to gather next. Ahead, the pattern shifts again. Something awaits beyond this loosening fabric, something quieter, deeper, stranger still. And you wonder. If space can fray, can it also forget? Or does it always remember how to begin again? Chapter 17, Where Time Wears Thin. What is a moment, if not a breath wrapped in memory? What is time, if not the soft unfolding of one thought into the next? Here, time no longer behaves the way it did. It stretches like silk pulled too far. It ripples like water disturbed by something unseen. You feel it, not ticking, but swelling, vast, slow, and uncertain. Once, you lived within minutes and hours, days and years. They fit neatly into calendars and clocks. They marched forward with predictable rhythm. But now, that rhythm dissolves. The idea of before and after slips through your fingers. You move, yet you remain still. You listen, yet sound takes longer to arrive. You think, yet your thoughts circle back upon themselves like birds unsure where to land. This is not confusion. It is simply, release. Release from the narrow shape time once held over you. Imagine a river left alone so long it forgets which way to flow. Or a song played so slowly the notes become tones, the tones become silence. That is how time feels here. It loops softly around you, not forward, not back. Moments blur, melt, drift sideways. You see echoes of yourself ahead, or perhaps behind. You are no longer certain. You wave, slowly, and feel the gesture ripple outward in all directions at once. What scientists call time dilation seems almost quaint now. Here, dilation feels more like disappearance. Like time unthreading itself from space, floating free. You wonder. Is this how light feels at the edge of a black hole? Is this how gravity bends not just space, but the very pulse of existence? Your heartbeat slows. Not out of fear, but in rhythm with this place. Even your breath stretches wider. In and out. In and. Perhaps out again, or perhaps not yet. You think of ancient light, traveling for eons to touch your eyes. What stories did it carry? What moments did it skip, reverse, fold upon itself to arrive here now. You realize. Perhaps time has never been a line at all. Perhaps it has always been a lake, still in some places, rushing in others, circling in whirlpools unseen. Here, you float upon that lake. You watch moments rise like bubbles, break, and vanish. You feel the undercurrents tugging, slow and steady beneath you. Somewhere, someone might measure this with equations. They might speak of relativity, of space-time curvature, of singularities and horizons. But you simply feel it. The thinning. The soft unraveling of seconds into something wider, deeper, quieter. Memories come not from behind but from beside you. Hopes appear not ahead but within reach. You no longer chase time. You float within it. You rest inside its vast, patient heart. Is this how the universe dreams itself forward? Not in haste, not in urgency, but in slow, drifting circles that always find their way back to wonder. You watch as moments fold upon themselves like pages in a book left half-read. You listen as silence stretches between them, long and tender. And in this stillness, you understand something soft and strange. Time does not pass here. It waits. It breathes. It learns to linger. You wonder what waits beyond this pause. What shape time might take when it remembers how to move again. But there is no rush. No need to know yet. For now, you drift where seconds wear thin. Where moments soften and curl like leaves at the edge of sleep. Ahead, something shifts again, quietly, gently. A hint that where time thins, something new begins to take shape. And you wonder. If time can pause, can it also heal? Or does it sometimes need to forget in order to begin again? Chapter 18, The Sound Gravity Cannot Hold. Silence is not empty here. It is full of waiting. You float where even gravity loosens its grip, where sound itself fades not with distance but with meaning. Not because there is nothing to hear, but because there is no one left to listen. This is the silence beyond the pull of planets, beyond the hum of suns, beyond the sigh of falling stars. Sound requires something to press against, air, water, walls. But here, space stretches wide, thin, clean. Here, sound is left behind. Still, you listen. You cannot help it. Inside your chest, there is the soft percussion of your heart. Inside your breath, the quiet in and out, marking your place among the stars. The universe does not need sound. It moves without it. Galaxies spin, black holes swallow light, comets carve cold paths, all in silence too vast to break. And yet, inside you, sound remains. The memory of voices. The echo of laughter. The songs your mind hums in the quiet. Even in this hush, your thoughts make noise, soft, steady ripples across the still water of your awareness. You realize something gentle but strange. Gravity cannot hold sound because sound belongs to warmth, to closeness, to the press of things against each other. It belongs to earth, to bodies, to moments shared. Out here, sound fades. But wonder does not. You wonder how many songs were sung before reaching this silence. How many words were spoken, how many names whispered beneath stars that burned out long ago. All of them carried forward in memory, not in air. Somewhere, light still travels from those voices. Somewhere, vibrations linger, faint as breath on glass. But here, you are alone with your quiet. And yet, you are not lonely. Silence wraps you like soft fabric, like deep water. It holds you without weight, without words. And within it, you hear something softer still. The hum of your own being. Not loud. Not proud. Simply present. Your heart makes a sound gravity cannot touch. Your mind shapes thoughts no silence can erase. You think of black holes now, those keepers of light and sound. How they pull everything close, tighter, tighter, until not even noise escapes. And yet beyond them, beyond their reach, silence stretches on, infinite, calm, complete. Perhaps silence is not the absence of sound, but its final form. Perhaps all things come to rest here, where there is nothing left to hold them back. You wonder what the first sound was. And what the last might be. Will it be a sigh? A song? Or simply the quiet closing of time's own door? But these are questions for later. For now, there is only this gentle hush. You float in it. You become part of it. And slowly, it becomes part of you. Your breath keeps its rhythm. Your heart keeps its beat. And silence keeps its promise. That even without sound, you belong. Beyond the edge of noise, beyond the tug of gravity, there is stillness. And in stillness, there is peace. Ahead, something shifts again. Not a sound. Not a call. But a feeling, soft, wide, new. The silence opens like a door you hadn't seen before. And you wonder. What waits beyond, where even silence must let go?